Hello and welcome. You're watching The Buck Stops Here and I'm Barkhadad. The big political story on the program tonight, on the 125th anniversary of Babasaheb Ambedkar, every political party wants to appropriate the man who gave independent India our constitution. But the fact of the matter is that as Ambedkar is reduced to a political battlefield, the death of one young man, Rohith Vemula, continues to shadow the conversation not just around Ambedkar but also the larger conversation around caste. That message coming home today when Rohith's brother Raja and his mother Radhika converted to Buddhism in a decision that his brother described as azadi from the chains of the caste system. A decision that of course has larger political implications as well. On the Buck Stops Here today as we debate who can really lay claim to the legacy of Ambedkar. Can any political party actually appropriate the great man? Let's first go across straight to Rohith's brother Raja. Rohith's mother Radhika is also with us, and Prakash Ambedkar, who of course is Babasaheb Ambedkar's grandson. Let me start with you, Raja. What made you decide to do this? After all, the identity of your brother as a Dalit student who had been driven to suicide in what his friends called institutional murder because they said he was forced to do it, was at the heart of the conversation around his, what happened to him very tragically. Why did you decide to embrace Buddhism?
Greetings to all. We had decided to take Diksha when he was alive only. On November, he came to home and he said about the caste discrimination in the university, and he said that Buddhism teaches casteless society, and it says that everyone is equal. So my brothers was willing to take Buddhism Diksha officially, but he could not make it. So we the family decided to take Buddhism Diksha to fulfill my brother's dream. He dreamed it off.
But Raja, can I ask you, in a very moving statement, you have called it an azadi from the chains of the caste system, and you've also said that we will be truly free from the shame and the daily humiliation. We are starting a life of dignity, life outside the Hindu caste system. Give us a sense, of course, apart from what happened to your brother, which is horrifying and continues to, in a sense, grab national attention, of what this shame and daily humiliation has felt like. Why did you feel you needed to step outside of Hinduism? Because there are those who say that we should argue for reform within Hinduism. There are also people who say this. So what made you feel that your dignity lay outside of the Hindu fold?
Because we have taken this step because we have to come out of this Hinduism ideology, and because we faced discrimination since our childhood, and we have gone through all the problems of what Dalit can go through. So we don't want to be victimized, like because of this caste system. So that's why we have decided. And my brothers are willing us to take Buddhism, and we personally approached that Buddhist Society of India to help us to take Buddhism.
Prakash ji, you have in the past spoken about a casteless society. You've even spoken about how school leaving certificates should not have the caste of a Dalit student. But the fact is that, when you look at what happened to Rohith, do you not believe that caste identity continues to be at the heart of our political fault lines, our social fault lines, that there is no escaping caste, that even with the decision of Radhika and Raja to embrace Buddhism, caste identity in a deeply hierarchical and unequal society will continue to follow them?
So you see, caste is an identity. Yes, it's a true fact. But does it mean that we should live with it? One. Second, should we allow caste to dictate our future? Does caste allow the nation to remain divided? If it allows nation to be divided, then it has to be addressed head along. It is not that just because people believe that caste is there, we should allow it to remain as it is. I have set a process in motion where caste can be slowly eradicated from the society where I have said that let's begin with the school living certificate. That in this fight of having a casteless society, I can understand the Dalits not joining me in this fight because they have the reservation which is based on caste. But you have the forward caste where they don't have any reservation. I am asking them, what is the necessity of carrying along the caste? Why do you need caste? Do you need caste or do you need nation? Decide for yourself. Because today, as Raja has said it, that it is his own liberation. There is 25% of the population who are living in inhuman conditions under the caste system. Now, if they decide that we don't want the caste system and they decide to revolt, what we are going to have? We are going to have a social unrest, and that social unrest will have what I may call it a little bloodshed.
Yes.
But does the society wants a bloodshed? Because now nobody is ready to be subjugated to others.
So that's it. That's
Slowly by slowly they have started revolting.
Yes.
And what we are now trying,
you're making a very...
what we are now trying to bring about
Yes,
is
yes.
a change in both sides.
Yes, and an interesting point from you,
It's an
interesting point, Prakash Ambedkar.
Change in both sides.
Yes, I understand, and you're saying that even if Dalits do not want to remove their names from school leaving certificates, why not the so-called forward or the upper caste? It's an important point, but I want to talk a little bit about Rohith and the statement that Raja made today. Raja, you brought up Prime Minister Modi, you brought up Smriti Irani, the HRD minister, you brought up Venkaiah Naidu, and you actually called them, the word you used was political culprits. What is your expectation of the Modi government, and don't you also feel that your brother's very, very tragic death is now being politicized by all the political parties, that every political party wants wants to use Rohith to further their own political ambition?
I don't think people came forward for their political identity. So what we feel is they came to show their solidarity. If they wanted to show their politics, and that is their problem, that's not our problem. So they came to show solidarity and they came to help us. So we welcome each and everyone to come forward and help us to get justice for my brother's death.
And what would you like to say to the Prime Minister and the government this evening, Raja?
So I would like to ask Prime Minister directly that why don't you talk, why don't you state any code and what's going on in the University of Hyderabad, and there the students are beaten brutally who were raising their voice for the justice of Rohith Vemula. So you want to suppress them or you want to help them? Because one side you are saying that you are following Ambedkar ideology, and the other side you are trying to suppress the people who are Dalits and who are they are raising their voice in the institution. And I just want to ask Modi ji, if you please clear and what you want to do exactly. And then I ask, we have a small hope on Prime Minister ji that he may help, he may give some justice to us. We should believe in him.
So you've of course spoken about the Prime Minister intervening, and you want the Vice Chancellor of Hyderabad University removed and a proper probe into Rohith's death. Prakash Ambedkar, the political competitiveness around your grandfather's legacy, how do you see that?
See, I don't see this as a competitiveness in the first place. I see a fear psychosis working within the society and within the political parties. And for bringing about this fear psychosis, I blame the RSS. Or I may put it in other words, bringing Dr. Ambedkar into focus again, the credit goes to RSS. Because RSS is not, the RSS came on the platform that they will come and they will do development of the country and give employment to the younger generation of the country. But none of that has happened. But what has happened is they have brought in their own agenda. And their own agenda is based on Manusmriti, where caste gets the prominence. The religion becomes the state religion. And those who are not Hindus, they are treated as foreigners, which have already been expressed. Either they will have to merge or they will have to be extinguished. That is what their formula is. They have now started implementing their formula in some of the states where they have powers, like saying that those who have not passed 10th standard will not be entitled to contest the election. Those who do not have a toilet will not be able to contest the election. So a segregation of a society has already started. Where it will end, it is the RSS who only knows it and none else. This behavior, or you can say the theory of the RSS, has created fear psychosis among the non-RSS forces, and therefore each political party is now trying to appropriate Dr. Ambedkar and say that we are following Dr. Ambedkar, and with Dr. Ambedkar's ideology we are going to beat the RSS as far as differences are concerned.
Right. So that's interesting.
To put it in short, I will say
yes,
the RSS is heading the RSS is heading towards dictatorship, and these political parties would like to see democracy being a part of our life. RSS is leading towards enslavement of a society, and they would like to see that the society remains open and independent. So this is basically what we are heading for, a polarization within the Indian society.
Right.
And the citizen of this country will have to take a stand, and either they want dictatorship or either they want democracy. This is the situation which is developing, and therefore I don't see any political angle to it, but rather I see an ideological divide taking place in the society, wherein under fear psychosis these political parties have now started appropriating Dr. Babasaheb.
Strong words, and we will put your words to our RSS representative on the panel in a moment from now. But Raja, just a last question. Raja, just a last question to you. You said your brother dreamt about you, wanted you to complete a PhD. What are your dreams today for yourself? You yourself have been looking for an appropriate job. What is the last thing, what would your brother have wanted you to do? Your last thoughts today. And also if your mother would like to say something.
My brother wanted me to complete my PhD, personal PhD in abroad. So he shown his interest to send me abroad, and just before 4 or 5 days he is going to commit suicide. So he said that he will send some money, and I can book a slot for GRE and TOEFL coaching for abroad entrance for the abroad universities. So my brother wanted me to become a scientist, and even I also wanted to become a scientist. I just wanted to do a PhD in my subject.
Yes.
And even my mom also wanted us to become a scientist, and she wants us to be called as Dr. Rohith and Dr. Raja. So this is her decision. She sent us to school with that intention only.
Right, and so of course Rohith's death and the decision that your family has taken today continues to, in a sense, shadow the conversation on Ambedkar Jayanti. We thank Prakash Ambedkar, Radhika and Raja. Thank you so much for joining us on the Buck Stops here.
Thank you.
So as we debate and look at how political parties are fighting to appropriate Babasaheb Ambedkar, let's just bring up an image. This image that you see on your screen is actually Rohith being evicted from the hostel at Hyderabad Central University. And look at what he's carrying in his hand. He's carrying the portrait of Ambedkar. This is what Ambedkar meant to him, that as he was thrown out of that hostel, and the trouble first began, he's actually with his friend Prashant, who's also going to be on our show, and we can introduce Prashant as well. But this photograph is really, really telling that this is, as he's taking his belongings, one of his belongings that he holds dear to him as almost like an essential belonging is that portrait of Babasaheb Ambedkar. So does the Rohith Vemula story continue to define the debate around Babasaheb Ambedkar, and who can really lay a claim to the Ambedkar legacy? Are all politicians only playing lip service? Until we ensure that there are no more Rohith Vemulas, can we actually say that we have achieved even a bit of the Ambedkar dream? Let's introduce our panel. Joining us on the program today is a very special guest, Neeraj Gewan, who is the director of Masan, which is one of my absolute favorite movies, which tells a heartbreaking story of how a boy and a girl from different castes, one from a so-called lower caste, fall in love and how that story plays out for them. With me in the studio, Pawan Khera of the Congress. Rakesh Sinha, professor as well as RSS ideologue, is on the program with us. Prashant, as we said, Rohith's friend, whom you saw in that photograph as Rohith and he walked out with their belongings. Let's just bring up the photograph one more time. That's actually Prashant in that photograph with Rohith as Rohith walks out with Ambedkar's portrait. Vivek Kumar, professor at JNU, is with us, and GVL Narasimha Rao of the BJP will be with us in a moment. I must start with you, Rakesh Sinha, because those were very strong words from Prakash Ambedkar about the RSS, and basically the argument he made was that the RSS ideology is actually antithetical to that of Ambedkar, and therefore people in this country have to choose a side. And the argument being that when you see Rohith Vemula's brother and mother actually converting to Buddhism and looking for what they call azadi from the chains of the Hindu caste system, then Hindutva, there is no meeting point between Ambedkarites and Hindutva. So how does the BJP RSS then also seek to appropriate Ambedkar?
First, I will make an observation. He said RSS is for dictatorship. It is moving the country towards the dictatorship.
Yes.
I don't know what Prakash Ambedkar was doing in 1974-75, whether he was in jail or outside the jail. But 50,000 RSS Swayamsevaks and Jansangh members were in jail. RSS could have done compromise with the system, but RSS didn't do that.
You're saying it stood up against emergency.
So it is not the words, it is your action which proves that whether you are democratic or undemocratic.
Okay.
Hitler was the person who always used to proclaim that the victim is doing aggression, he is peace loving. Actually, he was the aggressor. So I don't count the words and allegations. I count the in the history, what role you have played in the past, what role you are playing in the present.
Rakeshji, let's talk about the present, because we can debate the past a lot. In the present, the fact of the matter is that whether it was Ambedkar or whether it is Rohith Vemula's brother, they no longer find an identity or a dignity within the folds of Hinduism. Isn't this a contradiction for the RSS, where Hinduism is at the heart of your political ideology, not just your religious identity?
Barkha, I share the agony and the narrative of the Dalit thinkers, Dalit activists and Dalits. I know the facts that there is no social democracy as it should have been. Today I spoke that there is a political democracy, which Babasaheb Ambedkar said. Political democracy without the social democracy is incomplete.
But do you accept there's an ideological contradiction between what Ambedkar believed and what the Hindu right believes?
There is a compatibility between the RSS and Dr. Ambedkar. And why I say that? Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar never criticized in entire life in his speeches. He wrote thousands of pages. He spoke in thousands of meetings, but never in his life he spoke a single word against the RSS, because he was knowing that he might have hundreds of differences with the RSS, but he knew that the intention of the RSS is to reform the Hindu society. RSS stands for the casteless society. And I am telling you, the last person, Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay himself was reason for his defeat in Jaunpur 1963 Lok Sabha election,
but now there are
because
many,
he didn't take the support of the caste
There
system.
are many quotes of Ambedkar on Hinduism that I could read out. One of them saying, by discarding my ancient religion which stood for inequality and oppression, I am reborn. Something very similar to what Rohith's brother said today. Now, Pawan, the Congress would like to appropriate Babasaheb Ambedkar, but the fact of the matter is it could ring as hollow. If you go back in history, you know the Ambedkar left the Nehru government because of differences over amendments over the Hindu bill and the reforms that an Ambedkar wanted, especially in marriage laws and divorce laws and so on. So Ambedkar walked out. Secondly, the Dalits of this country politically do not see the Congress. You may want to call the BJP Brahminical, but the fact is, when you break down the data and you look at how Dalits voted in 2014, the BJP vote share of Dalit voters went up twice to 24% from 2009. The Congress dropped to 19% from 27%. So it's very, very interesting that the BJP actually did much better with Dalit voters than not just the Congress, but even a Dalit-driven party like the BSP.
I agree. What happened in Bihar? Where should the history of modern electoral history, where should it start from? Why 2014? Why not Bihar, where the RSS chief spoke against reservations? And they tried to convert the election.
But even Prakash Ambedkar speaks against reservations. Even Prakash Ambedkar questions reservations.
There is a huge difference. Let's first revisit the issue which Mr. Sinha was discussing. What is the difference between Ambedkar and RSS? There is a major difference. They will never talk about Samta. They will always talk about Samrasta. There is a huge difference between Samrasta. Annihilation of caste was what Babasaheb Ambedkar stood for. Ignoring caste is what RSS talks about. There is
what does the Congress talk about?
Congress takes
Congress doesn't talk about the annihilation of caste.
Don't forget, Babasaheb Ambedkar was he drafted the constitution. The Congress asked him to join the cabinet. Later the differences happened.
Okay.
Fair enough.
But you have also made the point on Twitter today that you think there's an ideological incompatibility between the right and Ambedkar. What is that incompatibility in one line?
I just said. Annihilation of caste is what Ambedkar says. Ignoring caste is what all along, right from Golwalkar to Savarkar to Mr. Sinha.
Okay.
10 seconds.
Yes.
Ambedkar wrote a book. Kindly read that book. What Gandhi and Congress done for the untouchables.
Forget
so
Congress.
I am talking
the debate
about,
right now.
No,
Mr.
I am talking
Sinha,
about
the debate right now
let me
is RSS and Ambedkar.
No.
Yes.
Let me complete.
Let's address those issues.
Mr. Khera,
we'll talk about the Congress
let me
later.
complete.
The Congress got punished for various mistakes. This could have been one of them.
If RSS chief
So,
Mohan Bhagwat,
are you copying the Congress?
No. Let me complete it.
Okay, I want to move on to the others.
Let me complete. Just
yes.
If Mohan Bhagwatji's appeal, and you know that RSS are not less than 1 crore cadres at the ground. Mohan Bhagwatji's appeal for one well, one funeral ground and one temple. This means no discrimination at all. And we are fighting. You know, on the question of temple entry of the women and the Sani Mandir, who took this stand? And what was the region? RSS took this stand. It was not Sonia Gandhi.
I'll tell you why.
RSS took this stand.
That's investment. That's an investment.
Let me come in. In Nasik Kalaram Mandir, where Babasaheb Ambedkar was deprived the entry, there was lathi charge. That Mandir, Swami Sudhir is a temple pujari. And now,
but
2 years ago,
the fact is that the whole
I
have to go to the others. I have to go to the others. But I have to go to the others. No, 1 minute. Both of you now, please. The fact of the matter is that we get GVL Narasimha Rao in here. Mr. Rao, the fact is, and Rakesh Sinha may want to jump into this as well, that the entire so-called Ghar Vapsi controversy, it actually militates against everything that Ambedkar stood for. Because one of the reasons that you have people who convert is because their own faith, the faith they were born into, does not give them equality and dignity. And we've seen that happening with the Rohith Vemula in real life. We've seen that happening with Rohit's brother Raj today, who has said, I seek azadi from the chains of this religion that I was born into. So isn't this an ideological dilemma for the BJP and the RSS, that you at one level you oppose conversions, but most conversions in this country, or many conversions, I don't want to get into a conversions debate, but many are driven from seeking dignity, personal dignity that the faith that they're born into does not give them, Mr. Rao.
No, Barkha, this is not a debate about religious conversions. I think as long as it is done by one's own volition, I think anyone can change their religion following the due process of law and can also go back to their religion. No, I think it's possibly the experience of many people that the kind of salvation they expect in the religion they migrate to does not give what they are looking for. They have a right to come back. I think this is something even the Honorable Supreme Court has, Ghar Vapsi is something that the Honorable Supreme Court has.
But what caste do they come back into? What life do they come back into when they come back?
I think this is, we are not debating religious conversions today. We are discussing Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar and how this government, how our government is celebrating the greatness of this son of the soil. How he has been, like many other freedom fighters, many other great stalwarts, how they have been really erased from the history books of India.
The question is, doesn't Ambedkar stand for the rejection of Hinduism as he understood it, as Rohith Vemula understood it, as Rohith Vemula's brother understood it, and therefore does that not present an ideological dilemma for all political parties, but in particular for the BJP, Mr. Rao?
No, Barkha, I'm not sitting here representing a particular religion. We are a political party, and we think it's the right of every individual citizen to, on their own volition, without any inducement or pressure, to adopt any other religion. So if somebody has done this today or 50 years ago, it's acceptable. There is nothing to really feel bad about it. And the kind of views that Babasaheb had about Hinduism, I think RSS also holds similar views. I think there has to be a reform in every religion. He was also harsh on Islam. Why are we only talking about Hinduism? He also felt women are not treated properly in Islam, and he called for uniform civil code. So therefore, let us not look at any individual, any stalwart from a narrow prism of religion alone. We are looking at the preachings of and the learnings from Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, and this government is putting into practice.
Okay, you actually think that the RSS and Ambedkar both stand for the reform of Hinduism as it is practiced for its prejudicial. Okay, before I get Prashant and Vivek Kumar, I just want to bring in Neeraj. Now, Neeraj's film Masan was this evocative, heartbreaking portrait or different portraits set in Banaras. Neeraj, one of them being, you know, a sad, poignant, tragic love affair between a young man of a lower caste and a woman of a so-called upper caste. You have been tweeting all day today about the casual casteism, how all of us, even without realizing, continue to be casteist. So give us some examples, and why was this story of the caste divide so important to you to depict in Masan?
See, firstly, I think everybody is talking about political ideology and political history and policy change, while I am just trying in my own capacity of being a mere filmmaker to bring about smaller changes. To begin with, I think in my film Masan, I've been seeing that if you go back in history and see all the films that have been made, you'll see that the representations of Dalits as protagonists has been very low. And I was discussing with a friend, Namrata Joshi, for her piece about how the representation of Dalit protagonists have been quite low. So that has been one of the reasons why I wanted to say this, and I wanted to, and also in Masan, if you see, we've not tried to stereotype as a caste stereotype. I wanted to present Deepak Chaudhary, the protagonist, as a human being, as someone who's wanting to have a career, so on and so forth. While today on Twitter, I thought I'll talk about casual casteism that exists. These are smaller changes that I'm expecting. You know, for instance, when you're sitting with friends, I've heard people say this, that, you know, अरे तुम लोग नीचे बैठ, तुम लोग ऊपर बैठ गए, हम लोग को नीचे बिठा दिया, हम लोग के SC/ST हैं. And people laugh actually. I've seen people laughing at this. Secondly, I've seen, like, you know, somebody comes over to your house to sell eggs, and the egg seller is like, आपकी इतने अंडे हो गए, and she's the lady who's taking all this is very happy that this person is helping her, and when he says कि दीदी पानी दे दो, बहुत प्यास लगी है, and she'll always go for the steel tumbler, not for the bevy of glasses that's over by the rack. And that, I think, these are the small examples that I see, and this obsession with last names. Whenever you go to small towns or even in urban areas, you'll see that whenever you tell them that you are from the same city or from the same place, they'll be like, oh really, what's your last name again? So it's that casual casteism that I want to, at least, there's a small change that I'm expecting.
Yes, and I actually agree with you that the steel tumbler continues to exist in some of the most posh homes, even in the national capital, and nobody pays attention. The lady who comes to sweep your house is given chai in a separate tumbler. So हम क्या बात कर रहे हैं अम्बेडकर के बारे में, अम्बेडकर जयंती पे, राकेश?
I like this concept and the term casual casteism. This genuinely exists. Even the well-intended people sometimes do behavior in such a way that
because
that
it's so entrenched and it's so deeply rooted.
I think what RSS is doing in its Sakha, and that's why when Babasaheb Ambedkar came to the RSS Sakha in 1938 in Pune, and he praised. Gandhi came, he praised, but now we decided that it should not be at the cadre based. It should be a mass campaign against the casteism, mass campaign against the untouchability, and we should go to the Dalit houses. And this government is doing a wonderful job. That's why certain Dalits.
So you see no incompatibility between the Hinduism that the RSS wants to reform and the Hinduism that Ambedkar rejected.
What Mohan Bhagwatji said, our religious text should be on the basis of scientific temperament.
Okay, I just want to get Vivek Kumar and Prashant. Professor Vivek Kumar, please go ahead. You've heard Professor Sinha and the BJP, you've heard the Congress. The fact is that Ambedkar to me has become reduced to a political battlefield. It is a kind of political idol worship, and Ambedkar stood against all forms of cult worship and, you know, this kind of political idolatry, but that's exactly what he has been reduced to by all of our netas. Professor Kumar.
No, but I think you have to create some shades. Actually, it is not black and white as you were saying. The type of exclusion which Dalits are suffering, and I'm saying that Babasaheb Ambedkar is suffering an exclusion in all the 16 programs which have been launched by the present government. And I don't agree with Rakesh Sinha ji, who is saying that actually the RSS has launched a Samrasta program. Now I will just give you 3 examples. In all these 16 programs which have been launched by Government of India, where is a Dalit face who can be seen as an actor? Dalit, 16 crore Dalits are being shown as passive recipient of the programs, and there is only one actor. Dalits of today do not want this patronage. That is one. 2, which is the policy? Which is the policy of this government is in the name of government? You give me one policy, one program. You are launching policies after policies. Whether it is Swachhta Abhiyan, it is in the name of Gandhi. There is banking.
But what is your objection? What is your objection on the second point? What is the objection? What is the objection? What is the objection on that?
There is objection is that there is no lasting program and policy in the name of Ambedkar. There should be some program in the name of Ambedkar.
GVL Rao, take that. This is a question about the BJP.
The third thing which you are talking.
Barkha, one instance. Barkha.
Let GVL Rao take it.
Every bank has to create a Dalit entrepreneur, and there will be almost 1,25,000 Dalit entrepreneurs in 3 years. What else you want from the government? 1,25,000 Dalit entrepreneurs in 3 years. This is the biggest program of the government of India now.
Let me say that is it going to change the life?
You have reduced.
Is it going to change the life?
Nobody is reducing, Vivek ji. Nobody is reducing.
Is it going to change?
Certain Dalit
Mr.
thinkers,
Sinha, let GVL come in then,
and Dalit activists are feeling uncomfortable because government and the RSS is reaching
GVL Rao. Okay, GVL Rao.
Yeah, I think I wish these questions were raised when programs, hundreds of programs were named after Rahul Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi, Indira Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru. I think only Sonia Gandhi we are yet to have a program. But this government, I think, has done something really to help and Dalits to become entrepreneurs on their own.
How do you see Mr. Rao? How do you see Mr. Rao? Mr. Rao, 1 minute.
Can I just finish one line?
Yeah.
Just let me finish.
Okay.
Stand Up India program
आपकी
will be
रोड योजना किसके नाम से है? आपकी जो सरकार की रोड योजना है वो किसके नाम पर है?
Barkha, is this a debate?
I think every program, we are not a government. We are not a government.
I think Pawan makes it right.
Every program after a family.
I think let's not get tokenistic.
Do not
please,
do not look for token solutions.
GVL, whose name is which scheme?
I agree. Please. You know what? I want to come back to Rohith's story. Mr. Rao, I have a question to you. Mr. Rao, I have a question. Professor Vivek Kumar, please.
I'm sorry.
1 minute. 1 minute. 1 minute. The fact is, Rohith Vemula's life would not have been saved had 100 more programs been named after Ambedkar.
Exactly.
So let us move beyond this debate to ask Mr. Rao a direct question, and that is this. Mr. Rao, Professor Kumar, I'll come back to you. I want to move on. I'll come back to you. GVL Rao, sir, 1 minute, 1 minute, मुझे कुछ सवाल तो पूछने दे. GVL Rao, today the brother of Rohith and his mother have called the Prime Minister and the HRD Minister political culprits. This is the phrase used by them. Political culprits. They are talking, of course, about what happened at Hyderabad. Prashant, Rohith's friend, is sitting here. I want you to respond to this because as you are commemorating Ambedkar Jayanti, a young man driven to suicide, which some have called institutional murder, is looking at your government and calling it complicit in this because you have brought back a vice chancellor that they believe was heartless about this young man who tried to reach out to him.
Barkha, okay, this is a personal tragedy for a particular family, so I do not wish to comment on
it's not a
what the
personal
family
tragedy. I'm
has
sorry, we are all
said.
hurt. Don't call it a personal. Don't insult Rohith Vemula by calling it a personal tragedy. I'm sorry, you withdraw your words.
10
Barkha,
scholars,
this is incorrect.
please wait.
How can he call it a personal tragedy?
Have the tolerance.
Are you not hurt with this? Are you not hurt by what happened to Rohith Vemula? Is Mr. Sinha not hurt?
Do not
Is Barkha not hurt? We are all hurt. How can you call it a personal tragedy? It's not a personal tragedy.
Okay,
just let me finish.
Okay, make your point. Make your point. Mr.
I think don't imitate Rahul Gandhi.
अरे चलिए राहुल गांधी के बारे में ये डिस्कशन ही नहीं आगे बढ़े. GVL Rao, please make your point.
नहीं, they are all okay. Why are you talking about only one incident? In 10 years in UPA, 10
Ambedkar
scholars
Periyar
have
Center
committed
in IIT
suicide.
Chennai. That's
All
the second
Dalit.
incident. Second
Please,
incident.
please let me
Ambedkar
finish.
Periyar
I
Center
want
in
Pavan,
IIT
Pavan,
Chennai.
Khera, let him
But
speak.
All India Institute
Pavan,
of
Pavan,
Medical
let him speak
Sciences.
because I have to go to Prashant. I have to go to Prashant. Mr. Rao, quickly answer what Rohith's family has said today.
Okay, 10 scholars, Dalit scholars have committed suicide in the same university. 9 or 10.
Okay.
I could be wrong. 9 possibly.
Okay.
9 scholars. It never became an issue.
Let me take that to Prashant.
Because one person commits a suicide, it
Yes.
becomes a national issue.
What?
It becomes the
Are you
central
really
government
saying that?
becomes the target.
Did you really say that?
And the
Because
agency,
one person committed
and the
suicide,
agency,
his life is
please,
not important for you?
I
It
think,
was all,
come on,
it,
yeah.
it was
please
because of
wait.
ABVP.
Please,
It was because
don't
the way
make
ABVP
me, don't
behaved
make
with
me
him.
make
I'm sorry.
harsh comments.
It was because of
Pavan,
ABVP
I
and
don't want
HRD
to make harsh
ministry.
comments against
Don't
you.
say that.
Don't
sorry.
be silly.
You have a problem with
Don't be
Rahul Gandhi
silly.
going there. I
Just
have a
wait.
problem with HRD minister intervening
Just-
in every second university episode between two students.
Barkha, I
You
think
can't
this
stop
is
the
Okay, that's it. That's it.
unbecoming
That's
of
it.
a
The fact
panelist on
is,
your
the
show.
fact is that Mr.
No,
Rao.
just one line. Let me finish one line.
One line,
No,
then
no, one
Prashant.
line.
Yes.
One line.
Yes. One line, please.
Yeah, and the student organization which Prashant and your panel represents, they abuse the name of Ambedkar and they praise, eulogize Yaqub Memon, Afzal Guru, terrorists. If had Ambedkar been alive, he would have been horrified to find students misusing,
Prashant come in. Let
misusing
Prashant
his
come in.
name.
Okay,
for
let
praising
Prashant come in.
terrorists and celebrating their,
Let Prashant
they're
come in.
celebrating their martyrdom.
Okay. Let
So
Prashant
these
come
are
in.
students
Sir,
who do not deserve any sympathy.
Okay, those are strong words. You are saying that these are students who don't deserve sympathy. The fact is, a young man was driven to suicide. The Prime Minister expressed pain over it. A lot of people wished he'd spoken
No.
earlier, but he did. You're saying they don't deserve
On that, yes.
sympathy. The Prime Minister
The
himself.
actions of this group do not deserve
The group.
No,
Okay, you're not talking about
actions of this
Rohith. Okay,
group
Prashant
does
is a
not
part of
deserve
that group.
sympathy. About Rohith, I have expressed my sympathy. Any young man dying is a
You're
tragedy.
distinguishing between Rohith and the group. Let me go to Prashant. Prashant, the point being raised here is this. There have been suicides at your university before. They have involved Dalit students. That's what GBL Rao is saying. Why is Rohith's case being politicized is the charge from the BJP? That's what they say. They say that other parties are fishing in troubled waters, whether it's the left, whether it's the Congress, whether it's the Aam Aadmi Party. Prashant.
First of all, I take serious objection of Rao calling Rohith's incident as a personal tragedy, because never ever Bandaru Dattatreya was a family member of Rohith Vemula, never ever Smriti Irani's HRD officials were a part of Rohith Vemula's family, never ever Appara was a part of Rohith Vemula's family, and these people have caused the suicide of Rohith Vemula. Hence, you cannot call it a personal tragedy. And second one, on the 10 deaths that have happened in the university, yes, it happened because of caste discrimination that was happening in the University of Hyderabad. However, this is the first time that has happened that Union Minister for Labour and Employment writing a letter to Ministry of HRD, and Ministry of HRD sending 5 reminders to University of Hyderabad, and thus University of Hyderabad taking action against 5 Dalit research scholars without conducting an inquiry is something which has happened for the first time, that too under the BJP government. It is because this government wants to protect its own ABVP voice, and it wants to develop ABVP as an organization and propagate hatred and enmity in between the students, and that we don't want. And third point, on the point that Rakesh Sinha was referring to, that Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was basically was a reformer in Hinduism, and they also want to take up the agenda of annihilation of caste. But what intrinsically Babasaheb said was, Hinduism is the foundation of caste. If Rama, a Kshatriya warrior, had killed a Shambhuka, a Shudra, for reading of Vedas, it was because of the Kshatriya Dharma that was ingrained upon Rama on the Brahminical scriptures.
Don't make a selective quote of Babasaheb Ambedkar. Don't insult Babasaheb Ambedkar. Have you read Babasaheb Ambedkar's volumes? You have not read Babasaheb. Elimination of caste was suggestion to Hinduism to reform itself.
If Appara is acting
Hinduism
against
could not
Dalit,
reform.
it is because of the Brahminical
One at a
culture
time.
that he ingrained with. It is because of RSS ideas that
him.
Prashant, who have given you right to...
I think these all points...
Who have given you right to make a murderous attack on the activists in the hostel?
In RSS,
you don't have the right. Don't take law and order in your hands.
Okay, we are getting time. We are digressing. Okay, one at a time. Please, Rakesh ji, Prashant, Rakesh ji and Prashant. May I request both of you?
You people are missing the
Okay, I'm going to bring both down mic for 2 seconds. एक एक करके बोले, radical follow you. एक एक करके बोलिए, so we can follow you. एक एक करके बोलिए. 1 minute, Prashant. You must all speak separately so we can understand what you're saying. Prashant, 1 minute. Prashant, you made your point. Prashant, you made your point. I will allow you a 30-second interjection. I want to go back to Neeraj after that. 1 minute. Let me just frame the conversation. You see Ambedkar as a reformer of the Hindu faith. The Ambedkarites see Ambedkar as somebody who rejected the Hindu faith. And this is the contradiction.
They have right of their interpretation of Babasaheb Ambedkar, but we feel that we have very much compatibility, and RSS in Pratah Smaran, right from 1960, we have respect for his personality, his action and his vision. And it is at the ground RSS is working for the Babasaheb Ambedkar's mission. This is not the question of who is lecturing what. It is the question who is trying to change the society. We RSS are trying, and we share Vivek Kumarji and others the agony of the Dalit. There is a social exclusion in the campuses. That should be removed. But that should not be exaggerated. That should not be used
Neeraj and then Professor Vivek Kumar.
Divisive situation in the society.
And Neeraj, you spoke about casual casteism, but the fact is, on the one hand, you have this kind of subliminal everyday casteism, which people don't even notice about themselves. On the other hand, you have this high voltage political debate around caste, and there is a sense that everybody wants to pay lip service to Ambedkar, but nobody actually wants to look at his ideas, many of which were extremely radical for his time and even for today's time. No party perhaps has the gumption, I would include all parties in this, to actually literally look at Ambedkar's and what he stood for.
I'm sorry, what's the question?
Yeah, Neeraj, go ahead. I mean, you're listening to all this.
I didn't understand the question.
No, I'm saying you're listening to all this.
No, I was listening to all this, and I was feeling like it kind of represents India in a way, the way we deal with caste, because it has become a political debate where nobody is able to understand what the other party is speaking.
Yeah.
Whereas the personal tragedy of a person becomes just a mere issue, and it also, like you said perfectly, that it's almost like a lip service.
Yeah, and Neeraj, there are two views on caste. One view is that those of us who have been privileged enough to never have to face caste discrimination, it is easy for people like us to say caste doesn't matter, caste should not matter. There is another view that says caste does matter, and therefore what Ambedkar wanted, this casteless society, you know, we are very far from it, because caste identities are important for those who have been oppressed. And therefore, you actually can't disown caste. It's a kind of irony.
Yes. In fact, I would like to talk about how about casteism in films as such, the way we've shown. I personally feel that, you know, people, when they are told about, like in schools and colleges, when they are given the privilege of taking something, it actually kind of pronounces it even harder that they are Dalits, and they that discrimination kind of becomes even more pronounced. And this, if you see in the film Masan, the way it's shown also, it talks about the same thing. The way Deepak is really trying to work hard and become a good student, because kind of that should compensate for his inability to be identified together with his friends or be known as an equal.
Yeah.
So this fight for equality kind of is becoming a big problem at this point.
Yeah, that's a very interesting thought, and I want to just take last comments from everybody. Professor Vivek Kumar, I'll start with you. How do you see this politicization of the caste question, the politicization of Ambedkar?
I was just about to finish with that, Barkha. You stopped and you did not allow me to speak. Even only one sentence, 2 sentences I have spoken in your program. That's very bad. But even then, I will say that exclusion, which I was talking about, is writ large in the political parties. In the political parties, today is 14th of April, and you see GVLG Krishnama, whatever is the speaker, he represents Bharatiya Janata Party. There is not even one Dalit who can be able to come as a representative to speak on their behalf. That's what the exclusion I am talking about. I am talking about
Isn't
who
that
is the only
literalizing
one
caste?
cabinet minister.
Isn't that saying only Dalits should
minister-
talk about Dalits, only women should talk about women, only Muslims should talk about Muslims? Why? Why,
No,
Professor
come on,
Kumar? Why?
you tell me.
That, in fact,
please
to
don't
me,
stop me
reinforces
again.
caste
You
bias.
please let me complete this. Please let me complete. When you represent yourself, that means you make a statement that you have arrived. Otherwise, people will keep on speaking on your behalf. And how long will you be listening? That people will behave, only people, others will can speak on your behalf. That means you have not achieved anything in 65 years of your constitutional amendments.
Okay.
So what are you talking that if people cannot
Okay.
represent themselves in this 21st century?
Okay, I want to go back to Pawan Khera, last comments. You did not address the Congress's failure to speak to the Dalits of this country politically. Your vote share among Dalit voters has been declining steadily.
Barkha,
And yet
losing
you will
elections-
closet, and yet you will label ideologically the BJP to be Brahminical. Why is the BJP doing better with Dalit voters than the Congress?
How can you say they are doing better?
I'm going
One
to the last
election, two
election.
elections. No,
The
don't
general
talk about that.
election,
Sorry, Barkha.
Haryana
My issue
assembly
is
election.
Bihar elections. Give me a response. What about the Bihar elections? No. Let's not talk about one defeat, two defeats. The Congress may have gone wrong somewhere. We should do a course correction like
Yeah.
all parties should. My problem is RSS has stuck to a dogma from 1925 onwards. Do you know they had challenged and questioned the Constitution of India? They wanted it to be replaced by Manusmriti. Ask him, he will not agree with me. But Golwalkar had a major problem with the Constitution written and drafted by Babasaheb Ambedkar. They wanted it to be replaced by Manusmriti. Ask him.
Rakesh Sinha and Ambedkar who wanted
And I have evidence
to
There
reject
is
and burn the
editorials in
Manusmriti.
Organizer. When the Constitution came into force, there was protest by RSS.
Okay, Rakesh Sinha, last comments.
I
yeah.
think once the constitution was adopted by the nation, we the people, and I think everybody is part of we the people. And as far Vivek Kumar is concerned, he's
But
talking-
on his point on the
No, no,
Manusmriti.
it is grossly wrong. We don't depend on any scripture.
What is the Manusmriti for you?
Manusmriti is a scripture. You can critically examine that Manusmriti. Somebody can agree.
So are you
somebody
saying
can
Golwalkar
disagree.
was wrong when he said
no,
that?
No, Sri Guruji never stood for the Manusmriti.
Are you
our
sure?
constitution.
Just please go and
no,
you are much better.
RSS
You are
has
well
never
read,
stood that
better than
Manusmriti
me.
is the
Please go and read the
Our
editorials of
constitution-
Organizer.
our constitution
Please
is-
read what
Okay.
Mr. Savarkar said.
let me-
Please read
Copy
what
which
Mr.
was-
Golwalkar
Let me
said.
complete, let me
No,
complete.
no, no,
I have not
you
intervened.
cannot.
I am-
Please
Barkha, I am not
read and then
intervening.
come. Don't
Okay,
say
I'm out of time. I'm out of time. I'm out of time, sir.
Absolutely
I'm out of
opposed to
time.
the Constitution of
I'm
India.
out. Pawan,
They always
Pawan,
spoke about it.
Pawan, you had your last say. I'm out of time.
Just a
Remaining,
second.
everybody gets 30 seconds each. Yes.
Just a second.
Yes.
I just say that RSS stands for the constitution framed
Yes,
by the
Mr.
Constitution
Rao
Assembly.
coming to you in half a second.
Second,
You don't have a choice
Pawan,
to
Pawan, Pawan, I have to go to GVL Rao.
Second thing, it is a separate electorate mentality that only Dalit will
GVL
speak for the Dalit, Brahmin will speak for the Brahmin, Muslim
Okay,
will speak for
GVL
the
Rao,
Muslim.
GVL Rao, last
Everyone has
comments.
right to speak for everyone.
GVL Rao, last comments.
Barkha, for us, we believe a lot of India's greats have been ignored because a particular family wanted to perpetuate only its history on the country and wanted to erase everyone's memory from
Is he
it.
talking about
We
the
want to
Sangh Parivar?
take
Which
the
Parivar
best
is he
of
talking about? The Sangh Parivar?
we want to take the best out of every leader who contributed to making of this India. And Dr. Babasaheb is certainly the foremost contributors to building of modern India. And I don't know why other political parties and particularly Congress party should have
Okay,
jitters
I'm giving the last
when
word.
we are celebrating somebody who is completely undisputed.
I'm giving the last word to Neeraj on this program. Neeraj, when you look at what's happened with Rohith Vemula and you look at his family today, it's almost like truth is so much more compelling than fiction. Truth is more dramatic than any film, any story that anybody could write. What does that make you feel today as an Indian? What happened with Rohith and his family today embracing Buddhism?
See, first of all, I think this is the same example that I was telling everybody that according to popular perception, casteism only exists in small towns and the hinterlands, but it actually is prevalent in very much in urban India. And if anything, Rohith Vemula's case is a strong example. And somebody has already said that it is a personal tragedy, but I refuse to agree with it. I think Rohith Vemula's case is a national tragedy. And if that doesn't open our eyes towards his brother and mother who's already converted to Buddhism, I mean, that is a clear example in front of us. And we should really be doing something other than debating on a political ideologue.
Okay, we will leave it there. This is a debate that's going to be here for many years to come. Unfortunately, it's a debate on which India has not reached a consensus, and the politics and the political noise has actually drowned out, some would say, any honest conversation. And we actually all look inwards at that steel tumbler in your kitchen. Look at that steel tumbler in your kitchen to start with. Leaving it there, Rakesh Sinha, Neeraj, Pavan, GVL Rao, Prashant and Professor Vivek Kumar, thank you so much. We're taking a quick break. On the other side, the absolutely heartbreaking story of a young man known as the Sachin Tendulkar of Handwara, whose mother says, who will bring my Gavaskar back home? Profiling the young 19-year-old cricketer who died in the last 24 hours in the Kashmir Valley.
In this two-story outhouse in Handwara, almost every space is filled with trophies and medals in Naeem Bhatt's room. The 19-year-old budding cricketer was killed in firing by security forces on Tuesday. His friends and teammates are overwhelmed.
Yeah, I mean, it's extremely sad time for us. It's very unbelievable. I was not able to sleep throughout the night. He is just like in front of me. It's out of my imagination. I can't believe he's not with us right now.
Naeem had played for the under-19 domestic competition. The trophies like Emerging Player of the Year, Man of the Series describe a promising career that was cut short.
बहुत छोटा था ये, अभी भी 19 पूरा नहीं था, जुलाई में 19 होने जा रहा था, तो बहुत शौक था इसको आगे जाने का, तो भी क्या मैं बोलूं कि मैंने बहुत कुछ खोया.
Shocked over the tragic death, Naeem's coach Mubashir has now penned a poem in his memory.
I cannot even, as of now, believe that he is no more with us. I feel cricket is wounded because we have lost one of the brightest youngsters.
Naeem would play for Premier Kashmir Gymkhana Club here in this stadium, as the budding star of gentlemen's game in Kashmir has fallen to the bullets. There is a deep sense of loss in Kashmir's cricket fraternity. In Srinagar, Nazir Masoodi for NDTV.